stories written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. They're back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. So many stories right in front of me. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Tiptoe around with face of a stranger. Quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. They're back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why you're the way you are.
Bumper bowling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Silverline Wednesday Night WHAM.
hosted by Scott Wakefield.
It is I, your host of Wednesday Night WHAM. Thank you, Tim TK.
I kind of turned into the THX thing.
If only you could do some sort of polyphonic bass note with your voice. Work on that for next time.
Yes, subharmonics.
I think Zoom has like some audible type stuff that you can do some echoing and all that kind of stuff you can do.
Perfect.
I'm always humbled by my introduction. I am, yes, the host, but really that just means guiding the conversation with our panel of experts. And tonight's topic is part two for our Canadian viewers. Is
dropping a deuce today? Is that what we're doing?
We are dropping part two of our conversation about video games. We had so much to talk about last week that we ran out of time. We talked right up to the last minute. We didn't even have a review in the middle, or did we? Did we have a review?
We did. I don't know.
But we talked a lot. So we have many modern video games that we have not even touched on. The venerable John Medic III, who is not here yet, he should be joining us, had an excellent PowerPoint about fighting games, Capcom versus Marvel. We talked about the origins of video games. We talked about what makes good video games, what makes some bad video games. We're going to talk about more of that tonight. If you're joining us and you had any doubt in your mind, I'll answer your questions and say, yes, you are in the right place.
I have a question. Why is it every time I'm not on, John brings the PowerPoint? I'm beginning to take it personal.
Well, no.
If he shows back up, I'm sure he'll be happy to run it again.
I want to see this PowerPoint. I want to be involved.
It's the void. We have to fill the void of C. Michael Lanning with something.
With a PowerPoint. Wow, if I didn't feel bad before.
Well, wasn't it we left early and he came on with it later? It was like
oh yeah, that's right. You missed it too, didn't you?
Yeah.
So we should run it again.
That's not a bad idea.
We need a rerun.
Yeah.
So
we
Tim, is there a way that you can pull up the video from last week and just run that part?
Play that.
Just play back, yeah, probably.
Yeah, we can do that.
Everyone out there watching,
if we can't, maybe we can get a couple people to act it out.
No? Oh, that's a good. Someone give me your best Hadouken.
Look.
Thank you, Professor. And tonight, as I said, is part two of video games. We have many things to talk about. The conversation will probably go off the rails multiple times, but that's what we do. Thank you for joining us. It is now, we've gone past over a week since our successful crowdfunding campaign. You can always get your hands on our comic books at SilverlineComics.com. All of our titles are available there, except for the two newest, which are about to be printed, moments away from printing. I will also reiterate, if you backed those projects on Kickstarter and you have not responded to your survey to get your information on there, I think almost everybody has, but if you haven't, and your name is going to be included in the thank yous, and you want your name some special way other than your profile name, you got to respond to that survey. So those will be in your hands soon if you back those. As always, thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and the independent comics world at large. And it is our habit to introduce ourselves when we get started, because we are all creators and we have our projects going on, but we like to tell you how we are, or how we're involved with Silverline and one make or manner and projects that we have on the horizon and so on and so forth. So I will start. Let's go from best dressed, Mr. Tim TK, straight from work, hustling in. Introduce yourself. Go for it.
I'm Tim TK. I'm the associate editor here at Silverline, and I'm the producer of our Wednesday night show. I'm also the writer/creator of Wolf Hunter, coming to you sometime next year, we assume.
Excellent.
I also reside in Oregon.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep.
Reside in Oregon. Thank you. I like for everybody to say where their butt presently is, because it's fun that we're kind of spread out across the country, and not just North America. Perfect timing. We have we'll go down along the Pacific Ocean and into South America, and you're still on mute, I think. Can't hear you. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Sid,
What?
you're here.
Hi.
Hey.
Yes, I am. Hello.
We
everybody.
weren't talking
you made
about
help the introduction.
We were not talking about. Why don't you jump right in? Tell everybody who you are, what you do for Silverline, what you do not for Silverline, and where you are located, because you do win farthest prize.
Oh, do I'm Sid. I'm talking from Chile right now, and I always do talking from Chile. I worked for Silverline as a colorist for the latest Kickstarter run that happened with Trump's comic, and currently I'm working on some special projects and personal projects and a portfolio more than anything. More like organizing my social media presence and that thing after that project, which was a very big one for me. So that's what I'm doing now. I apologize for arriving kind of late. It's just that right now, even though I'm just 1 hour away from your time zone from most of you, it's having the trouble like to organize everything and get here on time. It's but I'm here now, so
And
later than ever.
perfect timing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to go to my right on my screen here, Mr. C. Michael Lanning, where the C stands for charming.
Thank you. Wow.
I'm gonna change my name so you can come up with one for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Just say T. Floramonte.
I know. I'm gonna change it right now.
I'm C. Michael Lennon, coming to you from Louisiana, where we don't only get hurricanes, we also drink them. And then I'm a penciler, of arter for Silverline Comics right now, working on a project called the Rejects. I wanted to call it the Rebels. That wasn't right.
That was a different
project. Yes, different project in my head. A project called the Rejects with head honcho Roland Mann and a couple of other things here and there.
Right. Thank you. And I'll go down my screen to Mr. Brent Larson. Go ahead.
I'm Brent Larson. I'm in Orlando, Florida. I am the creator and writer on the Silverline book Icarus. And first time we're announcing, I'm also going to be writing another Silverline book that I'm going
exclusive.
Yeah, tell us. Go.
Sure. It's going to be
story. Spoilers.
No, it's not going to be called spoilers. It is going to be called Cape Town, and it's going to be a superhero book. And I've never written one of those before, but I've been working on it for a little while. And I'm actually going to be doing it with Justin Franklin, who is an artist that Roland knows, and his work looks really cool and exciting. It's just going to be a 4-issue series. And we don't have any timetable set yet, but I've got the story all mapped out, and we're starting on the script really soon. And so it'll be a lot of fun, I think. So yeah, there you go.
I'll buy it.
Plus, also like I don't know, walking my dog.
That's good. All right.
Lon walks on the dog.
We know.
Take my money.
You are not superhuman. You gotta do those things we all have to do. Walk the dog. Thank you, Brent. I like that. All right, and you heard it here, folks. Exclusive announcement. Brent Larson.
Cape Town.
Cape Town. Very cool. Thank you, sir. Rory C. Boyle, where the C stands for charismatic. How's that?
Ooh, nice.
Okay. Now I have to I'm gonna drop that bomb. Co-creator, Steam Patriots, currently down in Jacksonville, Florida for the next 5.5 months, along with Scott Wakefield, not in Florida, but up in New York. Man, do we have a whole lot planned for that.
Oh boy, 5.5
Oh
months.
boy.
Enough of this Florida stuff. And
I know.
staying in Florida, we've got T, Flormonte Jr., T for terrible.
I'm taking it back. That's not good. That's
turbulent.
Terrifying.
Tubular.
Tubular.
Yes.
Tubular.
Mr. Flormonte, Tommy Kablam, T for Tommy.
T for Thomas. That's right. Thomas Flormonte Jr. I'm also in Orlando. Well, I'm actually in Gotha, Florida, which is Orlando. And I'm currently inking a bunch of different things for Silverline. Just got done inking the Trump's book 1, which the Kickstarter ended a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, or I have no idea. I'm still a blur. And I just found out today that I wasn't done inking stuff, so I'm working on something else. So Sid, you got something else that you're gonna have to work on here pretty quick.
The trading cards.
There's another card that I didn't know I was supposed to ink.
So it's fun.
Yeah, so I'm going to be working on that one tonight. So hopefully we'll see that. But I'm also inking a Champion in Miss Fury, not Miss Furry. And so at some point we'll get back on Trump's book 2, and then I'm going to switch over to Demon Tales and a book that I inked in the past. But I've been inking stuff for in the comic industry for some 30-some years, and I also do penciling and writing and coloring and printing. I'm co-owner of the printing company Kablam, and I'm tired from doing all this stuff.
There you go.
It's been a week. It's one of those weeks.
Thank you.
T for tired. I'm going to change
You
it
are
to
our
tired.
workhorse.
Tired Flormonte.
Thank you.
No, I'm changing it back to Thomas. Sounds like terrible. That's not very good.
I am
Thomas.
Scott Wakefield, co-creator and co-author of an upcoming Silverline title, Steam Patriots, hopefully coming soon. And I help with publicity for Silverline. So if you have a show or a live stream or a podcast, or you do reviews or anything out there and you're watching, we'd love to team up with you. We love to co-promote. We love partnerships because we can all work together in this independent creator world we live in and promote what we all have going on. So feel free to reach out to us. And yeah, that was me. And I live in Western New York near Buffalo. And that's where I am right now. And if you are watching, and even if you're watching this not live, recorded, you are still welcome to throw a comment in. And we try to get back to those. Roland's pretty good about that, responding to comments even after the facto. And if you've got questions, if you have ideas, chime in. Tell us. We're going to be talking about video games, so tell us your favorite video game. Tell us. Last week we talked a lot about video games that made us fly into a rage, and then the broken TV and controller and sledgehammer induced problems.
Oh man, I was so mad last week. I wanted to share, and it was a mess over here. Like one of my parents, they were updating their computers. Somebody else was in another meeting. The internet was chaos. I couldn't hear anything. It was very frustrating.
Why don't you tell us you have a rage, a video game caused rage story you can tell us, or any story?
I get rage from almost any video game. Unless I'm playing something like Flower or Journey, I get mad very easily at video games. So I can't just play anything. Just give me a name, any video game, and I say yes. I just give me a rage, and then you're like, "Why are you so mad? Why are you playing if you're so mad?" Because I like it. I'm stressed and I want to relax. Yeah. And I keep yelling at the screen. I'm not really a gamer, but the few games I played mostly get frustrating. But it's mostly because of mistakes you make. You know, when you play it, it's like I could have saved, or I could have gone this other direction. I'm stupid. I failed and I died again. It's great. Something like that.
Yep. I feel like with my kids, when they're screaming at the TV or they're angry, it's like my mom's voice coming through me again, saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you think it's time to stop?
No, we're having fun, Mom.
No.
No,
Maybe
Mom,
you could pause it a little bit and take a break. I can't pause this, Mom.
yeah.
I can't save it.
Jeez.
Right. I'm in the middle. Yep. Yeah. And let me get to a save point. Yeah. Which is not with all the autosaves now, it's not a common thing anymore. But
You're right.
my daughter plays Horizon Dawn.
Oh yeah.
Oh, pretty.
And that one you actually have to run to like the little campfires, right? You can't.
Right. Oh, this killed the zoom, so let me just pop that up. There you go.
And who are we watching now?
We're watching. I believe this is Charming Michael Lanning.
The Prince.
You have a new name.
And what are you working on, Mr. Charming?
This is the rejects page 11 right now, so that means I'm halfway through penciling this.
All right.
By the time this
Ooh.
one's over,
Cool.
so
Cool. And folks, yeah, if when you're watching this, you are seeing stuff. You're seeing the creation of a story here. It's really cool. I love it, and it distracts me because I'm amazed as a writer that people can create art like this, and I love watching the process. So enjoy that while we talk. A lot of things we didn't talk about last week were modern video games, and I figured why don't we start there? We can work our way backwards if we want. My realm of modern video games is very limited. PS2 is almost a stopping point for me, and then my kids have a PS4, and I kind of live vicariously through them. I've played some of the bigger name like Skyrim and the Calls of Duty and a lot of the other little silly simple games that I can't get too involved in. We have a game called Race the Sun. Has anyone played that?
Nope.
No.
It's very simple. You're flying a ship and the sun is sinking, and the sun powers your ship, and so you just need to go as far as you can, avoiding obstacles and picking up bonuses and little power-ups as you go. It's very simple, and the graphics are very simple. And my score, I think I cracked 200,000. I don't know, and that might be just an arbitrary number. My son's always, he's very nice. He's a thoughtful young man. He said, that's good, Dad. And he left it at that.
Thanks.
What do you do? He says, well,
It's okay.
I usually get at least 1 million. I had played for 2 hours, and and I watch him, and it's again, it's like me all over again. Like I get my mom watching me, and the dexterity of him playing this game is almost effortless, and I'm a bumbling clod with just like hoofs for hands trying to play this game, and I don't know.
You haven't tried splitting wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how to change the oil in a car?
Right. Yeah, come on, you punk. Yeah. So my knowledge of modern games is very limited. So I will. Why don't I'll put you on the spot, Tim? Tell us what you stream again, and then you can get the ball rolling with with you kids in your modern video games.
All right, so I stream a game known as Destiny. I did not have time to change into my branded T-shirt that I got from completing the Triumph this year. But it is.
It's okay. You're not being paid for that, for playing and announcing. So it's
Yeah, I'll be made now. When I get my stream later tonight, I will be. So that is my main streaming game. I am a content creator, whatever that entails. But whereas last week I said my favorite franchise game was Metal Gear Solid because it is all wackadoodle story. Destiny's kind of the opposite of that. It still has its own weird wackadoodle story with space gods and giant worms in the moon and bunch of fun stuff with that. But it is primarily just a multiplayer experience shared through shooting a ton of stuff, just anything and everything. um, so I stream mostly what is known as PvE, or player versus environment content. So that's where we get a fire team of 3 to 6 people. We go through and we do it's a cooperative thing, trying to take on different strikes, which is going through a set of rooms and clearing out a boss, or a raid, which is even more rooms and a harder boss and a bunch of mechanics, essentially half puzzle solving, half shooting. And I like that it is very in depth in that regard, or as opposed to knowing a lot about story, you have to crunch the numbers. This is I dressed in the appropriate outfit of it, being an analyst. You have to play a game as an analyst, crunch the numbers for a build, find the best stat rolls, and perform optimal strategies to take down a boss together. And Rory has been in stream when we go into the player versus player environment, and it just turns into me shouting profanity at snipers and people with shotguns. Just
It's D&D at 10,000 times the speed on LSD.
Yeah. Yes.
So do you get upset when the little 10-year-olds are in there just killing you left and right all the time?
Yes.
Talking so much crap.
Yeah,
So much crap.
and then they're the ones stopping all the crap.
I will say one of my favorite
Well-
aspects about this game is that it's Forbes did an article on this the other day. There is no like community chat. You have to essentially toggle into chat with people. You have to be you have to mutually agree to actually like voice chat over the game, but usually it's people just use their own servers.
Oh, okay.
And the I was gonna say. So the game took a lot of notes from how parks are designed and how you create community without actually engaging people to talk to each other. So I like the fact that it fosters community, but doesn't force you to actually listen to 10-year-olds rage. So you can always, I find decent enough people online through other content creators or wherever who want to play with my group of viewers or what have you. And the community does seem to be older. It's not quite like other shooters where you find a lobby of 13-year-olds hopped up on Mountain Dew in an Xbox lobby. It's people who actually do take, especially like in my area of content, you find people who have, usually they have time for one game a week, and they find one that they have to do math in because it gives them more lifetime of the game. So Destiny's kind of that experience, and then all the story gets added in the auxiliaries. So sometimes I will go through and read that, but it's not part of the actual experience. The experience is community engagement and trying to crunch numbers and shooting stuff, and then yelling at people who can't hear you over the internet.
So I've got a question, and this might be my fuddy-duddy side
Sure.
of me. Do you think the format like Destiny, the online multiplayer, is an improvement over the local multiplayer, the
LAN,
the local 4-player, because they don't make those anymore, really, or multiplayer games are hard to find, because I honestly look for them because I want to play first-person shooters with my kids, and they have 2-player games, Call of Duty, right? But a lot of them are not even local 2-player. You've got to get online. So,
you are a dad.
I know. Is that like a problem most people don't care about because they can?
I would say it's an improvement, but there is something missing in the translation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my first experience was the Diablo 2 and the Counter-Strike Source LAN parties.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rory found something. But
You okay, Rory?
I want to know. But I have. I mean, it's great, especially for the quarantine, because you can get people together, socially distanced, and play together, whatever. But there is something about that shared community space that what made those weekends so special when someone got the Prince permission to open up the garage. We all brought our PCs over, and someone had the Quake disc, and someone brought the Mountain Dew. Someone had Doritos.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I mean, the nice thing is, we still, my group of man children, can still do that, and that one of them manages a computer shop with with a huge back room. So there'll be weekends where we just move everything in there, set up with his like 2 terabyte internet, and
Oh, wow.
it's fantastic. But
Can imagine.
so but the ability just to everyone comes home from work now and no one wants to see each other's face, and we're like, okay, I'll see you in an hour and we'll go do a raid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can all do it without wearing pants, and no one knows. So there is, so you miss the intimate community of it, but also it's so much more convenient. And when you're actually working in adult schedules, it makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
And I feel like that is a reflection of games, because now people who grew up with LAN parties are now probably also the people who have these insane schedules, and so the industry reflects the market.
That was very in depth.
I try.
But no PowerPoint.
I'm wearing my I'm wearing my analyst suit, so I gotta be the games analyst here.
That was very good.
John's gonna pop in 3, 2.
I hope though there is maybe a return to the local 4-player, because there is something about that, and that for me with kids now, playing 2-player is fun, but if 3 or 4 of us could play a game together, that's not like Spelunky or a Wii game. That's another story. The 4-player Mario, was it Mario Party? Which was the 4-player Mario for the Wii?
Mario Party?
Mario Kart?
Not Kart. The side scroller. The
3D world builders kind of thing.
Paper Mario?
Paper Mario?
No.
I'm thinking it was probably Party.
You could be Mario, Luigi, or 2 toadstools. Like you could.
Oh yeah, it was a 3D world thing.
It's like that Super Mario 3D, I think, or something like that.
Okay, I banned
one of them
from my house for a long time because the level of discord that it created of my children yelling at it, because the youngest couldn't keep up. That they'd leave her, and then the screen would push her into an obstacle or off a cliff. And I banned it. So we have another game. There's another game called Spelunky on PlayStation, and it's a very
that's a very
simple and
that term is a little
little guys that you run around, and you kind of like Indiana Jones. You got a little whip and you pick up treasure and stuff, and it's time. They yell at each other and they scream, and I have threatened to ban that game. So I don't know, maybe I might be talking myself out of these local 4-player games.
Well, it's not spelunking, it's caving. You will be met with staunch resistance.
I didn't name the game, Rory. I'm telling you what it is called. And I think we lost Brent. He was frozen.
Yeah, he looks like he was frozen there.
Yeah.
What game system was Spelunking on?
Spelunky ends with a Y.
Spelunky.
It does have fun though.
It is on PlayStation 4.
Okay.
I don't know if it's on other platforms, but it was one of those like $4.99 downloads, and it has the randomly generated maps. My kids enjoy it. There's the tower battle games, and the other one though that they kill massive amounts of times, and that amazes me with the level of interactivity that you can have is all the Lego games.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much fun. So much more than what they look like.
The Avengers game, they know more about Marvel characters from the Lego games than any comic books or any, because they know, because they give them all the variant suits and their superpowers, and there's a storyline. I really love those. They are amazing games that you can interact with just about everything in the world and get all the parts from it. It's incredible. The Lego games have been a huge hit. Let's stay on
your kids play Roadblocks and those type of
yes
games.
Yes.
Yeah, those my business partner, when the kids are over at the office all the time, they play those all the time, and I'm just watching. I'm like, God, that is the boringest.
So
That is and they're just sitting there like all day playing, and it's like, what are you doing? And they're just going around doing nothing.
I'm for
like,
them because you give them
just-
2 more buttons.
Yeah.
it's not as energetic as Pokemon Go, huh?
No, I'm telling you, you
Yes.
go out there and get
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Pokemon.
We have the chat says that we need to have Tommy talk about Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, Minecraft is another one. Like when it first came out,
I still like playing Minecraft a little bit. I like building stuff in it.
yeah, I
Incredible.
got sucked into it until I played for so long, and I say so long. This is like as much dedication as I could give. But I played and played and played, and I had a suit of armor, and I had a whole bunch of weapons, and it's my own dumb fault. And I was dig, and then just dug a hole right into lava.
And you're like,
Yep.
flip this table.
I closed the laptop and walked away.
I
I had a very
remember when
similar experience, but instead of that, I got into a dungeon full of zombies, and I was like, no, and I couldn't run away, and I just could see myself falling again. No,
Yep.
I forget the year that
I don't have that
came
thing. I need
out
a
where the
story
guy was
for it.
developing the thing, and I remember giving him money. I forget what the guy's name was that did Minecraft, and I remember giving him like $25-30 or whatever. And so now I have like whenever a new system comes out, I could go in and say it was like a lifetime forever thing. And so whatever
Well, give us
system
your
comes out-
login.
and and then I could so every time a new one comes out, I go, hey, I was one of those guys. I give them my name,
that's
and they
cool.
go, and
This is a
it's still
bird with
active.
a-
Well,
So-
we're going to talk after the stream.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Let's go. And the staying on the modern video game theme is all these crowdfunded games, which is really cool that they'll start with the kernel of an idea,
Yeah.
and you can support these games. I think it's neat. I think it's a lot of fun to be able.
The game I'd never hesitate to support was Cuphead. As soon as I saw it,
Oh, yeah.
someone since I love animation, and when Cuphead came out, I didn't even doubt. I just put them on in. I couldn't even buy it because I couldn't play it at the time. But I was just like, no, guys, just keep on doing
What's
it.
it called? What's the name?
Cuphead, yeah.
Cuphead, yeah.
Cuphead.
Cuphead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my boys love that game. That is a hard game. I have tried that game.
You also lose. Yeah, you can
Oh my
also lose your
God.
friends
What's
with
the
that.
name of it again?
Cup, C-U-P, head. It's
Cop?
it looks like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like the old Mickey Mouse style.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did the
It's-
entire game animated, like old school animated.
Yep.
Yeah,
You know,
it's-
frame by
it's-
frame.
It,
type
it's
of
amazing
thing.
looking.
I'm gonna play it right now while you guys are talking.
There you go.
I cannot pronounce
Music is insane.
Cuphead.
Animation is great. But it's very tough. Like it's
Yes,
kind of
very.
like some of the old Mega Man games. You know, like you
Yeah.
just die that
Oh,
easily.
I love those.
Right.
But
games.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. My babysitter when I was little, they had a Nintendo. I did not. So I loved going there. But her little boy was 4 or 5 years younger than me, and so he didn't go to school. There was a day that I got off the bus at their house, and he had played Kid Icarus for me to play past the levels that I had never had time to get to. He paused the game for me so I could show up and because you couldn't save the game, it was pause or nothing, you know.
Right.
So yeah, he paused it for me. There's
That's very noble.
it stuck in my head. There's an Onion article that satire news that man returns to Super Mario Brothers that he paused 32 years ago.
Jesus.
He said my mom asked me to do a good job, and I forgot about it.
No,
That kid may be still waiting for you to finish that
Yeah.
game. Still pause, you know.
Kid Icarus. That was a
Oh yeah.
that was a fun game.
I couldn't have video games as a kid. They were just way too pricey. So I was that neighbor that would go to the neighbor's house to watch the neighbor play.
Yeah.
That was me.
Same. Yeah,
That was the only way I could see video games.
You just
Mhm.
show
It
up.
was now at college. Yeah, now at college, even after college, I was able to like afford my games. So, definitely advanced somewhere there.
My parents were afraid it would rot my brain, so I wasn't allowed to get one. And I asked every year, and yeah, no go. That lasted all the way to my last year in college, and then suddenly it occurred to me I didn't have to ask their permission anymore. So
Boom. Loophole. No.
Wait a minute.
Like expired.
yeah, no.
Ah.
And then that's when I got my Super Nintendo, and
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
yeah.
So someone else with a current game you are playing that takes up your time.
I can't play games because it would take up all my time.
Yeah.
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 I am.
That was-
Now that I finished the Kickstarter, I could finally open that Breath of the Wild game, like properly sit down. And I spent the next 4 days just running around. And my sister was like, "The story needs to go on." I was like, "No, I'm fine. I'm fine just walking. It's great."
I've still never played any Zelda.
I love
I may have like a 10%, less than a 5% of the game. I just like walking around because it's like I need to walk. I need to do. I've been sat for so many hours here. I just want to walk in a nice, pretty field, the horse and try to tame it. And so, but it's just now. I'm super like just any video game outside. Just no, same. No time.
Okay. Roland
Still
in the
When,
chat. Roland in the chat
go for it.
says Tommy played Pokemon Go older in San Diego Comic Con.
Who keeps talking about Pokemon?
Nice.
What do I look like? I play Pokemon?
Oh my gosh.
And my wife, we did play
Maybe
Pokemon.
little.
We did the what was the Harry Potter version of Pokemon
Yeah.
Go?
Oh,
We
right.
played that for a little while. Yeah, driving around town. So crazy people. You could see them back when it was super hot. People were just you knew what they were doing.
Right.
They were driving around in
Yeah.
circles and stuff. It's like you guys are playing Pokemon Go.
Full Sail
Yep.
turned into like Mad Max when that was out because it was just like people in cars just like running each other down trying to find gyms.
Oh God,
Walking
that
into the
is
road.
nuts.
Yeah.
Mad Max.
For the first time in many years, I would see people in parks, like using
Yeah.
parks that were empty before. So that was pretty. That's pretty.
The
Yeah, video games are great for getting outside and getting some fresh air. So
again, walking into
Right.
traffic and getting
Right.
hit by cars and all that kind of stuff. That's what they were doing.
Well, from
Um,
where I just moved from, right across from us was a graveyard. And middle of the night,
Oh, you had people out there looking for Pokemon.
flashlights looking for
Yep.
Pokemon.
Ah,
It was a hot spot.
yeah.
A hot
So,
spot for Pokemon.
so Mr. Charming,
Wow.
did you find any?
I did not play them. However, I did drive my
Alright.
wife around. I did drive my wife around.
Perfect.
I hate Pokemon. I
Wow.
hate it with a passion. I worked in a video store, and they on the side it was a video store / comic book store / other unmentionable things, and they used to sell Pokemon cards, and I had them kids coming in there all the time looking for Pokemon cards. I'm like, yeah, and it was like '99.
Kids.
Yes, the Pokemon.
Nita Lanning says shut up.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, no, I drove her around looking for Pokemon. But no, I was not I didn't play it.
I had a
The,
guy tell me that Pokemon saved local comic shops in the 90s,
Yep.
basically. Just like
from
Star Wars saved
I can
80s
see that.
Pokemon.
Hmm.
And Marvel saved
Right.
saved the theater industry. So really, the economy has to thank nerds for
That's right.
yeah.
Nerds save the
True.
world,
All the time. So, yes.
and they still make fun of us. Here we are.
But with
Oh,
comic
my
books, though, it's almost every 10 years there's a crisis. So it's in the comic books and at the comic shops. So
Yeah.
so that's kind of there. You have you had the '90s and the speculator fiasco, and then I think comic shops were in danger before Iron Man came out, and they kind of credit Robert Downey Jr. for saving them then.
Yeah.
And now 10 years later, we're having problems again. So
Yeah.
it's the circle of life, not the circle of comics.
It should be in the calendar.
Yeah,
it's
right.
been 2
Right.
years. Get ready. Get ready.
And
The only games
Yeah,
that I'm
red letter
playing,
day.
Like an alarm. Like a doomsday clock.
we always have to make some
It's
sacrifice too. It's like always some chain dies as the blood sacrifice to appease the comic gods. I mean,
to keep it
with,
going.
with the changes wires and the quarantine, I think Atomic officially bit the dust. So that was our sacrifice this year.
I would say I could think of a couple of people in the
Yeah.
comic industry.
Tommy, what you were going to say something?
I was saying that really the only games that and I'm not really playing much of anything, but the only games I like on my laptop here is I like to play Planet Coaster. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's kind of a Sims kind of game, where you build roller coasters and you can ride them and you build theme parks and all that kind of stuff.
It's spiritual successor to Roller Coaster Tycoon, right?
Yeah. But it's again, it's a little more in depth than roller coaster, but it's kind of it's fun. And then the other thing I really play just every now and again is when Doom Eternal came out several months ago, I've got that, and so I play it every now and again. But I don't really play much of anything. Maybe some pocket games on my phone. That's about it. Just some puzzle games. But my wife and I really loved Guitar Hero. She actually let me get the PlayStation 2 or whatever just so we could get some guitars to play, and we played that a bunch. We really liked Guitar Hero. But she wouldn't let me buy anything else. I could buy Guitar Hero. I could buy PlayStation just to get Guitar Hero, but because she knows I would just stay up all night playing. Yeah.
I remember my mom would give us money for video games, so we would spend that. Those Dance Revolution games in the arcades.
Yeah.
And that was the only time that she would give us money. Like we were like, "Can we get money for video games?" She was like, "The dancing one, yeah, okay, take it, just go, run, just burn out that energy, whatever." So yeah, that was the only time I got like full support for video games.
You ever try one of those Dance Revolution games on your PlayStation?
Yeah, we were addicted.
The little mats. Yeah, we bought one.
Yeah, the thing is that we would destroy those mats.
I felt a little silly.
Played so much that we would just destroy them. And my sister built one with wood and a PlayStation controller, and we would host such huge parties. Like all the neighborhood would come out to our house because we had like a big machine and we didn't have to pay for it. So we would just entire evenings just playing, and everybody just sweating the hell out of themselves. It was great.
So
and no parents were like, "Oh no, they're meant to get video games."
Did you charge your friends to come in?
It was great
because
no parents were like, "No, we could have."
You should have. You could have charged them a quarter a game or something.
We were raised to be nice and sharing.
You're so sweet.
Like that was the only time my parents were like, "Oh yeah, they're gonna play video games. Yeah, it's okay. They're gonna be the equivalent of running in the park."
So
singing,
the S
dancing.
The S in Sydney or Sid is sweet. That's what your name stands for, sweet. Let people come play for free. So you need to change your name now.
Jeez. Yeah, that was a thing.
In the RPG world, are those still a thing? MMO RPG?
Yes,
they're trying to make a comeback.
So they kind of have been replaced by games of service, which have the sweet spot of not having to cost as much as an MMO, but still have the same appeal, which is like Destiny and Marvel's Avengers, where it's smaller community interaction, not necessarily 2,000 people in one server. World of Warcraft, their hemorrhaging money is still like 10 times more profitable than some other games, so they're fine. They had new expansion coming out this month, I think, unless it got delayed, which I'll be streaming on my Twitch, link in the wherever. if it is later this month. So they're kind of still trucking along. Other MMOs have kind of lost the arms race. I believe Amazon made a gaming division and is trying to release an MMO early next year to compete with it, but it's already, from what we hear, there's already issues with it. So we'll see how that goes when you have a game that's been a successful MMO for over 10 years. And yeah, they're just kind of hard to compete with something that's like, if you think of an MMORPG, there's World of Warcraft.
Right.
But single player
Or
RPGs are making more of a comeback.
Neverwinter,
Yeah.
or Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, there is Neverwinter, which is holding on, but it's gone fully free to play. Guild Wars 2, but like they found their niches and they're okay with being like 5th best because there's at this point there's no hope of dethroning WoW unless they just absolutely shut the servers down overnight.
Oh, wow.
So my World of Warcraft experience. So this is 2003, 4, 5, around there. And it had to be toward the beginning of it, right? 2004.
2004, yeah, was that actually? I think it launched 2004, 2003, 2004. Yeah.
So I was in the Coast Guard and I was in Hawaii, and the guys I worked in a shop, had about 8 guys, and 2 of the guys are talking about it, and one of the other guys is like, what is this? And they're, oh, you got a so during lunch, they leave the Coast Guard base in Honolulu, and they took a long lunch. They went on patrol. Rory knows. They went on patrol of Honolulu's marinas, and maybe went to the Best Buy, and came back with a Sony Vaio system, and he's telling me all about it, and I'm like, I said, that might be the most expensive video game I've ever heard of, because you went to buy this machine. He's like, oh no, this is for other stuff, but don't you already have a computer at home? Well, yeah. So this one's really just for World of. So then it wasn't long that we're sitting, we're having lunch, and one of them says, yeah, I just paid somebody to level me up to level 40 or whatever. And I said, yeah, this is me, Scott the dad. I said, you have to pay to level up? No. You can do that, but there are businesses that you can hire people to play your game for you. And this, I know now that's not a very mind-blowing concept, but I'm like, you bought the game, bought the computer, and now you're paying someone to play the game for you. He said, well, it's not really worth it to level 40. Well,
okay.
Blew my mind. And it's not that uncommon, but also this, and again, not that uncommon, but they would swap their work schedules and give each other swords and gold and all this stuff within the game. Hey, I'll give you my sword of slashing if you take my watch Friday night. Okay.
If it works, it works, right?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
If you need a sword of slashing or a hammer of smashing, and you're willing to give up some of your life or what, I don't know. But the level of dedication to in the early days of these games, my cousin created an account just to steal a weapon from somebody. He gave it to his other account and then just deleted the first account, so there was no record of that.
Perfect.
And it was a long game. I mean, it months to pull this, and I know people do that. So I'm amazed at the scope.
Wait until I tell you about EVE Online.
Okay.
Oh gosh, that's a whole other. Yeah, we'll get into that.
Scott, I want you to imagine everything you know about an MMO. That experience of WoW. Okay. Now put that on real business quarterly timetable schedules.
Yeah.
Millions of real dollars used to finance billions of in-game dollars, and thousands of people working to do this to each other at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh
wow.
Not too long ago, they had the most expensive battle in EVE Online, where 5,000 people in one faction, 6,000 people in another faction, met in a demilitarized zone and just blew the crap out of each other over beef over territory. I think the estimated cost is something like $23 billion US.
What?
Yeah, no joke.
Just in terms of how much money you have to, because they beat the pay players to play your game for your players to fire and goal for you by saying you can just buy the currency from us and we'll undercut the black market.
Right.
So using that conversion, that going into how much those resources cost, that's how much money was lost in that fight.
Wow.
And that fight was like 5 years in the making, of like Cold War into open hostilities into.
I don't even think like that. I don't even think.
It's hard. Nobody does.
I've played it a couple times, but I much more enjoy the news cycle from it than actually playing it at this point.
You have to gear yourself up to get into that.
Yeah. Nita Taylor Lanning says she enjoys single player RPGs because she hates people.
That's true. That's kind of funny. I can't go PvP. I can't play with somebody else against them or co-op because they insult me because I beat them or I couldn't give a good game or they yell at me because I'm not good at playing with them. So
Yeah.
I like playing myself too.
But her thing, she hates that ESO.
Oh yeah.
Elder Scrolls Online. Because you're running around this fantasy world, and so is everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. You're kind of like, really? I thought this was my fantasy world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of single player RPGs, I know some people in the group have limited experience, others have more with Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
But there was that the peak Dungeons and Dragons gaming experience of Baldur's Gate.
Yes.
Baldur's Gate 3
That was
just
a
went
good
into
time.
early access, and I have
Yeah.
already pre-ordered it, and so I have early access. I've not jumped in yet, but the fact that isometric RPGs, between that, Divinity, Tyranny, isometric top-down RPGs have been very successful recently is pretty cool to me.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a 2-player?
So I don't know about local, but I know online you can support up to 4 people at once.
That was one thing my wife and I were able to do. That was fun to have that 2-player experience, like Scott was talking about.
Yep.
We could just play. She and I.
Mm-hmm.
I think we played the. I don't remember. I think we talked about the Baldur's Gate 2 or what have you. But
Baldur's Gate 2 got killed by Champions of Norath.
Mm-hmm.
Baldur's Gate 2, and I think they didn't, what do you call it? Printed more. I think they only did it once, right?
They only went gold once. They didn't go platinum with it. Yeah.
And so Baldur's Gate 2, if you have a copy of Baldur's Gate 2, it's relatively rare and worth something.
Yeah. And then they did Baldur's Gate 2 Dark Alliance for console.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because Champions, I mean, I can't complain. Champions of Norath was awesome.
Great.
I loved it. Was Champions of Norath, was that the one where you could add the gems to your weapon and then break it down, or was that Baldur's Gate 2? You could get gems. You could kind of customize your weapon to have. So if it was like a sword, you could increase your defense with that sword, or increase your dexterity, or have a combo. And then when you sold it, you could break the weapon down.
I almost want to say that was Champions, and that's why it killed Baldur's Gate. Was there's just much more versatility and
They took away jumping. You couldn't jump in Champions of Norath.
It took away jumping?
You couldn't jump. And in Baldur's Gate, you could get somewhere faster if you jumped. So if you were running, and Baldur's Gate didn't, Champions split up the gold. No matter who picked up the gold, it went evenly to every,
right.
If it was 10 gold, you get 5. But in the first Baldur's Gate, whoever got it. So if you jumped,
I like that better.
Just a teensy bit faster than the other person, and you'd get to the gold. Or the crates or the barrels.
And then when that horde comes at you, yeah, remember that gold you took? Let it save you now, buddy.
What did anyone ever play A Bard's Tale or The Bard's Tale? Is it up?
Yeah, that was
a while ago. Oh, a long while ago.
Yeah, that game was a farce on the RPGs, and the first animal you kill. So there's a snarky narrator, and you kill a wolf, and it says you slay the wolf, and out springs, a chest of gold, and a wait, what? And he's confused. Yeah, I get most of my money this way. Why does the wolf have a chest of gold and plate mail armor? Why, hidden.
The better to
I
pay
like
you
that.
with.
Hey guys, I gotta get going.
All right.
Brent?
Have you heard much of you, Brent? Did you have anything to offer before you go off?
Not really. To tell you the truth, a few months ago, I came to the conclusion I'd have to stop or severely curtail playing video games if I was actually going to get the writing done that I needed to get done. So it's now more of a vacation thing versus a weekend thing like it used to be. So plus, sleeping is something I try to invest in. Video games are kind of in competition for that.
Totally understandable.
Yep. Well, Brent, thank you.
Yeah.
And we will see. Before you go, remember, everybody, Brent is the author of Kalis, and check his comic books out. 1 and 2 are available presently, right?
Yes.
And
3 and 4 will be out in probably early January is what I'm hearing now.
Awesome.
And there's a new book I hear that you're working on.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was that called again?
Cape Town.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just keep talking about it until people can't ignore me any longer.
Perfect.
That's marketing.
Yeah. We'll get some.
You have a good one, man.
Thank you
All
for
right.
joining us.
Have a good
Bye,
night.
everybody.
Bye, Brent.
Bye.
And Tim, do we
Bye.
have a review? Or are we gonna?
I thought we had a review, but it's just the one from 2 weeks ago, Elmer.
Okay.
So no.
Okay, so
Can you just play it
everybody-
backwards?
if you-
That'd be kinda
That's how Satan talks. No.
Yeah, right. What are you going to awaken?
Happy Halloween. Here's a Dark Lord.
For our viewers out there, we are about the midway point, and every so often we do have a review from Wayne. Why do I forget his last name?
Wayne Hall.
Wayne Hall. That's
Wayne
a
Hall.
difficult
Perfect.
last name to remember.
Perfect.
Wayne, and Wayne, if you're watching, thank you for your contributions. And if anybody missed any of our previous shows, they are all the internet is forever. So they're on YouTube, they're on our Facebook here, and Twitch. Does that keep them? I don't know how Twitch works.
Twitch will hold them for 2 weeks, and then they're held in posterity on YouTube and Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And Roland is checking to see if he needs to update the review. Which, yeah, we only have the only one that I pulled up was Elmer. I didn't have if there is a new one.
So if we do get one uploaded, I'll have Tim please chime in, tell me, and we will show that review. So if you jumped in after the beginning of our show, we are talking about video games. This is part 2 of our video game discussion. Last week we talked at length, mostly about some vintage games. John Medic had a great PowerPoint about fighting games, a lot of Capcom and Street Fighter style games, Mortal Kombat, and some of his costumes and his love for the genre is a lot of fun. So check that out last week. And we've been talking this week about mostly modern video games so far. We've been talking about RPGs, and we always talk about how the games frustrate us and so forth. So let's continue. We can talk about modern games, but we can work our way backwards. We were talking about Baldur's Gate, and what did you call them, Tim? The top-down third person?
Isometric. So that's that has to do with the way that the hexes work from the top-down camera angle.
Okay. Cool.
Also,
And
if you follow any of the older ones, I think up until Baldur's Gate 2, you can get them all on mobile.
oh, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Oh.
I like.
Yep.
Oh, yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, you've changed my life, Tim.
That's it.
The information all over again.
And make mine Silverline. Good night. So,
All right. Let's see. So Roland said he got one uploaded.
okay.
Awesome.
Well, in the meantime, so there was a game. I think I told everybody about Another World, right? We talked about that last week. Did we talk about Another World? Or no? So, because we talked about renting games and renting cartridges from Blockbuster, and we in Batavia, New York, we had a video factory. I don't know if that was a chain or not,
Right.
but so a few years ago, I had this recollection of a video game that I played that I rented for the Sega, and I could not. I remembered bits of it, and so what? How do I look it up? I remembered there were like humanoid aliens. I remembered you had to crawl. I remembered you were in a cage and had to swing the cage to get out, and you picked up a gun sooner or later. But what Google search do I do for that game where you swung a cage? Sega Genesis. So I'm on my phone, and I was in the Play Store for Android, and it said people who bought this also enjoyed this, and the image was it was a game called Another World. Does anybody remember that? You were a physicist, and the game starts. You drive your sports car, and you walk in, and you go to a computer, and you open this something wrong. There's like electricity storm,
And this is side scrolling.
Yes, I think almost entirely. But it had the
That sounds familiar.
it used rotoscoping and that shaded cell animation. And it was one of those where you had to kind of time things and outsmart your opponents. But I was saying last week too about getting games with no player's manual in it. I didn't know the gun had 3 functions. It could fire a beam. You could press and hold, and it would fire. It would power up and have a blast that would blow apart a wall. And then you could press and hold, and it would put a shield up. Well, I didn't know these things the first time I played it, and talk about frustrating. I couldn't figure the game out because I didn't know the gun had these functions. But they made it. They updated it for a mobile app, and I loved it. It was nostalgia. It was wonderful. Another World.
I'd just like to say I googled Sega Genesis. What is it? Running with the Cage, and it came up. So
No
yes,
way.
That's
Nicolas
you could actually
Cage?
Google that.
No way.
Rage in the Cage. What did I put in there? Sega game swinging a cage,
And it
and
gave you
sure enough, it
Another
came
World?
up. Another World video game on Wikipedia.
Because
Nick Cage.
your phone is listening to my voice, and it's spying on you right now, and it knew.
It knew. Well, dang it.
So
It's kind of scary how sometimes you can actually find stuff in Google. It's like, oh no, they actually found it.
yeah,
That's great. I don't know.
that you
Wow.
just
Nick Cage is
searched that
everywhere.
game where you run and swing a cage.
Nick Cage.
Awesome.
That's incredible. So Tim, do we have a review?
We might have to try and get that resolved.
All right. I don't want to keep capitalizing on the conversation. Does anybody have a favorite arcade game that they dumped tons of money into?
Area 51.
Besides the
Yes. Area 51 was everywhere. It was like at every
Everywhere.
pizza
Yeah.
place, every arcade, every the basketball play, everything. Yes.
Yeah, mine was Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. is what I used to love.
Yep.
I spent so much money on those games.
The
I used to
game.
play the Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
Mhm.
Talk the original, like the Turtle Power 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the game that I remember the first time I spent $5. And now as a young person, the first time I spent $5.
You could buy so much candy with $5.
And the sound of putting
You could make a
$5
whole lunch
bill-
out of $5.
$5 worth of tokens.
You could buy so much
and a
candy.
lot of noise.
I think that's the only arcade game where when somebody came to join you, you're like, oh, thank God.
There it is.
You had Double Dragons. It's like, oh, man. Now
Yeah,
I gotta
I
this
love
guy.
Double Dragons.
But they're going to kick your butt. You know they're going to show
The
up.
Ninja Turtle game? Oh, we need 2 more players on here.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
When you're playing a fighting game and someone shows up and you know, great, now it's over. Now,
Tim?
Yep, we have a review ready for you whenever you're ready.
all right. Okay, so we're gonna go to Wayne Hall's review, and I don't know what it is of.
It
so,
is of Once and Future.
like as in like Once and Future King. As in,
That's what it sounds like.
interesting. All right. Well,
I like it.
from our vantage, we don't get to watch it. So if you watch it, post some comments and let us know how it is, and we'll go back and look at it. All right, let's watch the review. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, this is Wayne Hall back again with a great book that you can order through your local shop. That's an indie book. And I have a great one for you this week. This time I actually don't have a physical copy of this. I actually have digital copies of this one, but I'm ordering this book right here. It's called Once and Future, and it's described this way. Let me read the description to you. When a group of nationalists use an ancient artifact to bring a villain from Arthurian myth back from the dead to gain power, retired monster hunter Bridget McGuire pulls her unsuspecting grandson Duncan, a museum curator, into a world of magic and mysticism to combat the deadly secrets of England's past that threaten its very future. It's a really interesting book. It has to do with Arthurian legend, which I'm always fascinated by. I'm sure some of you may remember Camelot 3000, which came up from DC a while back. It was about the Arthurian group that had now translated into the year 3000. This is set in the current times, and unfortunately for Bridget and Duncan, the folks from Arthur's Round Table are not necessarily as good as they used to be. We get to see Merlin, we get to see Arthur, we get to see all these other people, and it's a really romping adventure as far as things go with the various characters. I should mention Bridget is a rather old character, which is unusual in comics. Usually characters, Bridget McGuire, usually people are much younger. Now Duncan, of course, is. He appears to be 20 or 30 as a museum curator. But Bridget is a senior, kind of about my age or older, and she has been devoting her life to this whole business about the Arthurian legends. There's a lot of action going on, a lot of things. We have Beowulf gets involved. We get all kinds of crazy and amazing action things happening to them. There's a girlfriend involved for Duncan, and she's getting pulled into this as well. It's I don't want to spoil too much, because what's happening is these are getting to be quite a bit of struggle happening, and this is all, of course, based in England, which is a natural place for it. The writer is a guy by the name of Kieran Gillen, and I'm probably spelling it, or it's tough to spell. It's tough to pronounce too. I may be butchering that. And the artist is Dan Mora, who used to do Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and is also good for the book Klaus that Grant Morrison does from Boom Studios as well. It's interesting things about the complicated truths of the history of England, the power of family to save the day, especially if that family has secret bunkers of ancient weapons and decades of experience hunting the greatest monsters in Britain's history. So there's a lot of really interesting things happening in this book. Because I'm part English, I always like to say I'm 3 parts English and 1 part Scotch, sort of like a bad drink. And because of that, I'm always fascinated by British things and what happens over there. It's just a well-done book. I think it's up to about issue number 13 right now. How I get the digital copies, I don't buy them through Comixology. What I do is, as a reviewer, I'm connected into certain groups that want their books to be reviewed. And so what they'll often do is they'll send out digital copies, and they have what's called watermarks on them, and that's to make sure you don't print them out or somehow try to print copies and make money yourself off of it. And I have been reading that book very regularly ever since the first issue. and there's a group that I belong to, and because we're reviewers, the head of the group sends out a zip file that contains a lot of these books, and that's usually in there, the ones in future. And the bad news too for me is I'd like to write a review of this book, but the website that I largely write for, majorspoilers.com, somebody or somebody's always beats me to the punch when it comes to reviewing this book. So I'm out on the outside. I can just say it's a great book. The art's interesting. It's a little craggy. The characters are well developed. Like I said, there's this interesting mix of a grandmother sort of and the museum curator and his girlfriend. And it just goes really quickly. Things happen along. Beowulf, like I said, is involved recently. I'm trying not to spoil too much because, that first trade is now out, and you can get it through Amazon. I know you can order it through your local shops. Boom Studios is not one of the main three, so it's one of those ones that local shops really can get you, as well as the local issues, as they come out, the individual issues. So I would say if you really like Arthurian legend like I do, and you like to see how crazy things go on in today's world, and how sometimes the past isn't quite as good as we think it is, when these characters come back, they are quite nasty. Again, Merlin's involved, and other parts of the legend I'm less familiar with. And I'm trying really hard not to spoil this, but it's really something. But why don't we go ahead and get to the gradings, and that'll help me since I won't have to spoil too much. As far as the writing goes, I really like the writing. It's, Arthurian legend is something that interests me, so I'm not surprised that I find the writing really engaging. The characters are interesting, and there are people around the older lady that kind of help her, and they're interesting as well. So there's a lot of good characters. Like I said, there's a lot of fast-moving things happening, which is good and easy to read. So I'd have to give the writing an A. I think the writing is very good. The art, like I said, it's craggy. It's kind of interesting. I mean, you can see by the cover here that it's pretty interesting. You see the two main characters on the sword, and that person. We won't go into that, but there's the artwork's pretty good. I would like it to be a little less craggy, and I understand you're dealing with monsters and mythical things and all that, and so people probably want you to be craggy when you do that stuff, or a little sketchier. I'd like it if it was a little less craggy, so I'd have to give the artwork a B, I think, as far as that goes. Literary merit. This is where this book is going to shine because, Arthurian legend, and it couldn't be more literary than that. And they are doing a wonderful job of filling in the gaps as to what's happened to the characters, let's say, since the legends were developed. More than that I won't say because it's got some really good stuff. But I have to say, as far as filling in and making this true to the original Arthurian legends, it's pretty good. Because it's set in modern times, it may not be something that's going to hold up over decades, but it's good now. I would read it now. It's a very good book. As far as to his lettering, I always am critical of lettering, but this one I'll just give a B, and I think it's probably as good as they can do as far as that goes. But it's an interesting thing to me. I always butcher letters. I just don't think that they do it quite well. But oh well. The fun factor, the main character, the senior lady is. She has a very odd sense of humor, as some British folks do. She always says things that can be taken multiple ways, and it's very dark and unhappy the way she looks at things. So there is a fun factor, but like I said, it's not what I would consider. This is in no way a kid's book. Let me say that. But on the other hand, it's not too far an adult book. But there's a lot of really good things going on as far as that goes. The fun factor, I'd give it a B-. If you go for the dark humor of it, yeah, you'll probably like it. overall grade as a book that's out now, and it's an issue just coming out this week, is it's a very good book. I would have to give this an A to A minus because the art influences me a little bit. But you can get Once and Future in your comic shop. Yes, you can. And if you like this kind of stuff, I'm guaranteed this is going to be a favorite of yours. When I see that I have a new issue in my little zip file, that's the first thing I go to and open up because it's just one of those great books. The first trade's out. Second trade's probably not far away. So I would say get Once and Future at your local shop. And keep reading your comics.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Silverline's Wednesday Night WHAM, hosted by Scott Wakefield.
Yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
It is Wednesday Night Wham. We are here to entertain you, and we appreciate you being here. We're talking video games tonight. We are talking games we love, games we don't love, games that make us angry, games that changed our lives, games that take too much of our time, games we wish we had more time for. We've talked about RPGs. We've talked about first-person shooters. We've talked about space games and fantasy games and everything in between. Sid, were you raising your hand to say something?
He was stretching.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we are talking video games, and if you are here and you're just joining us, as always, feel free to chime in, ask us a question, make a comment. It does not have to pertain to the topic tonight. We ask that it's not too outlandish, but if it's about comic books or pop culture or sci-fi and fantasy and nerd stuff, we got a pretty good group of nerds, and I say that with all love and kindness because I'm one of them. They call me the host, but I'm really just here to curate the beautiful minds of our folks here. We have Tommy, Tim, Sid, charming Michael Lannon, and Rory. D stands for High Seas Boyle. If you're paying attention and keeping score, has worn 2 outfits tonight. Yes, thank you, Rory.
And that is a record for a Silverline stream.
He is the first to wear more than one outfit during a stream. During the break,
and the cool part about it, he's not wearing pants for either of the outfits.
which
Neither.
is authentic for some pirates, I do believe. So
Sunday night stream, Leonard. Challenge.
we discussed whether his outfit does fit with the Steam Patriots timeline, and whether the Society for Creative Anachronisms would approve. We're not entirely sure, but he does look pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. We were talking about Baldur's Gate and how Baldur's Gate 3
Yes.
or what's it called, Tim?
Early access.
Early access. So it is out there. Baldur's Gate was one of my absolute favorites. That is one that kept me up till all hours just to win the game, to defeat the game. It is also one of the games that I love. I love video game physics, just similar to movie physics. When you have 43,000 pieces of gold on your person somewhere, where is it all? How are you carrying?
How are you carrying all that stuff? Yeah.
Multiple suits of armor, 10 or 12 swords and battle axes, and hey, not going to complain because then you can sell it all later and get even more gold. So we all have our favorite video games, and we've all enjoyed video games from our youth. Some of us were not allowed because of family budgets or family beliefs on our brains pouring out of our ears from too many video games, but we've all over time succumbed to the call of video games, both simple and complex, both that take a few minutes and that take many hours. And we love, as story creators, we all love the story aspect of video games. And last week, Brent's a screenwriter. Brent has a great story mind and how stories play out visually, because writing visually is very much a different whole kettle of corn, different than writing a novel. For a movie or for something visual, you can't always write what somebody thinks or somebody feels. You have to write what they see. And video games present an added element that you have to cue the player to what they need to do. There has to be some hints, especially now with very complex storylines. So writing for video games has been something that interests me, but I don't know if I can add that to my list of to-dos of getting into the video game world. But video game writers have a unique task to have a multi-branching, multi-arching storyline that is engrossing and can keep the player interested, and likewise not too confused that they give up. And I think we've all experienced that, where games made no sense and we gave up. My example was getting games from the rental store that did not come with a player's guide, and you didn't know that your weapon could do something, or that you could punch a wall, or you could climb, and that would certainly ruin the game. Why don't we work backwards? We've been talking about modern games like Destiny and World of Warcraft and RPGs that are out there right now. I also wanted to talk about, has anyone played No Man's Sky?
I
I
have
had high hopes from it.
Okay.
I'm familiar with the tale.
Yes. So it came out more than a year ago, and almost 2 years ago, because is when my kids got a PlayStation 4.
Your kids, or you?
Well, I said last week, my kids put their money together, my teenagers,
and bought you a PlayStation 4.
They bought their own PlayStation, and it ended up being their babysitter. I'm not lying, and it could judge my parenting, if you will, but they play the PlayStation and don't get into any trouble. And it was their own money that bought that PlayStation. So,
and how old are they?
Right now they are 15 and 17. So
Yeah, no, that's fine.
yeah, they. I know they don't need a babysitter now, but 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was.
I see now.
You know, when your options are video games or drugs.
Right. So my son got all excited about all the hype of No Man's Sky, because it was this.
It sounds great.
It has 1 billion trillion planets to visit. You can do anything.
It's a tough decision to get.
Mm-hmm.
And in truth, you get the game, and you visit Planet 1, you visit Alpha Centauri Prime, and then you visit Alpha Centauri 2, and 3, and then 4, and then you start realizing, wait a minute, this is just
a 5?
A little variation of the other planet. So instead of a quadruped bug dog, you have a sextuped dog bug. And after a while, it gets really boring. So that game died quickly, and there was much outrage. And I don't mean just in the Wakefield household. I mean international video gaming outrage that they overpromised. Wait.
I remember there was a lot of expectation
they ate the
about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, apparently several patches and DLC later, it's having something of a revival.
Yeah. Well,
really?
Yes. So we got the notification that there was a big update, which, again, living in the country, at the time we had a limited amount of data to use. And we put the PlayStation on update overnight, and it just wiped out all of our data. But yeah, it was a huge update. And now the game really blows my mind with the potential of just, you can have freighters and you can build fighter ships, and you can mine, and you can use the raw materials to it. It really is a pretty incredible game, and it made me laugh. My son, because I like old junk and old vehicles and motorcycles, and I do have multiple motorcycles in my garage right now and a non-functioning van in my yard that's for sale if anybody needs. It is a little ghetto. But my son said, well, I've got this freighter full of ships that need to be fixed, but I just don't have the time to get to them. It's like, it's the video equivalent of me.
Look at that. The apple.
Oh, Sid, you're kind of you're lagging out. It
Sid.
seems like.
Yeah. You got to say that again, Sid.
I can't really hear you guys. Right?
Were you saying you need a van? You want to purchase a van?
That's exactly what I heard. And she made an offer on it, and so now you got to figure out how to get it down to Chile.
I'll DM you. I'll get it to Chile.
I mean, I'm not paying for shipping. No.
I'll bring it down.
Over
I'll
here.
bring it down.
Shipping is more expensive than the product over here. So.
What were you saying? I'm sorry. You're good now.
I don't know. You were explaining about the video game and how now your kid has the same situation as you in the garage, and I was like, I don't know, it's the Apple, millennial Apple, but it is.
Yep. He's got a space freighter full of junk spaceships that need to be repaired, but he's just too busy. He's too busy.
Oh, get around to it.
Mining planets, yeah. To get around to it. So that is an aspect. I said we move backwards from modern games, but that is an aspect of modern games that I find incredible. The scope. What was there? What was one? There was a game. Was it Red Faction?
Oh yeah.
That was one of my first experiences where you could blow up the environment, like you could blow up a wall.
Oh yeah.
And I remember thinking that is incredible.
The future.
Yeah, you could, and it wasn't every wall, but you'd run around shooting every wall.
Oh yeah.
Blow up. And I remember thinking that was incredible. But now, like the Lego games and No Man's Sky, the scope of the games is what boggles my mind blowing. And I know this isn't that new of a thing, but they get bigger and bigger and more in depth. And I'm going to counteract myself by, instead of going backwards, let's move forward. Thoughts on VR? My experience, and this is why I question it, is I know a lot of people who have had VR who no longer have VR. They sold the device and they say, well, I just stopped playing it. Does anyone else have experience or thoughts on VR?
I played with it a bit earlier this year, actually. But yeah, no, I had a device a couple years ago that I got for free from a Taco Bell. Like, get the code on your cup type thing. Enter in the code. Yeah.
I got it from Taco Bell.
Yeah,
Right.
I got a PlayStation VR set from the Taco Bell sweepstakes thing.
How good of a game could it have been that you got it from Taco Bell?
Well, there's the VR headset put out by Sony that you connect it to a PlayStation 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few things that are kind of
Not
fun,
real
but
time.
it's not. Yeah.
Not ready yet.
There's out at Disney's what's it, Disney Springs. Now it's closed because of the COVID stuff. But there was a place called The Void. Y'all heard of The Void?
Yep.
The game, yeah. They had a Star Wars VR thing that you played a stormtrooper, so you put on the pack and all that kind of stuff, and it was so immersive. There was spots where you were walking through areas, and and I was getting a little. That was my wife and I went, and she was a stormtrooper. She was a pink stormtrooper, and I was a purple one. And and I don't know how much you guys know. I'm 6'6". I'm a tall guy, and my wife is not. And so, she was a little short stormtrooper, and I was a big, so all the sizes and stuff, and that was the neatest. When they do it, when that VR stuff works well, it works really good. I mean, there was a spot where you stepped out on a platform and it moved, and I was getting like, my wife and I were holding on to each other because we thought we were going to fall, and we're like, we're idiots because we're just standing in a room, but it really looked like you were, moving through this big thing, and when Darth Vader was, attacking you and stuff, it was so cool. But now it's closed because you can't go and touch people and do that kind of stuff. But that was the Void. Y'all should look that up if you want some VR stuff that looks really cool. Those people
nice.
it was nice.
The surprising thing about VR is they've been struggling to try to make VR a thing for what?
Ever.
About 30 years?
Like each 20 years it comes back. That was my major project at VR subject.
Oh, well,
yeah.
You're the authority. Learn us.
And my major is about digital interaction and interfaces. Of course, I never applied it ever again later. But in that time, all I wanted was to make like a video game, and my teachers had this thing about interaction and how it should be different. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try with the VR and see what happens. That was 2016, and by then the VR, like the Oculus Rift and all that, it was just like starting to like going downwards just a little down. Like the whole hype about it started to slowly go down. And before starting just my video game project, I started to investigate why was the reason and why the interactions were so great. And when you check on the interactions, they're all very, very lame. It's just you sat down and you watched like a music video, and the interaction is so vivid that it just makes you dizzy in like 2 seconds, and so on. At the end, my project was not about making a video game, but was like, I realized there's no such thing as a proper way to make, like, just like how you can find tutorials how to make a good speed runner or a fighting game. There's no such thing for VR for video games. There's no like a tutorial of like rules you need to learn how to follow, or like things that what to do, what not to do for VR. So at the end, that was my project. But in the investigation, I found a couple of experiences that were very, very insightful. And one of them was an experience that it was a mixture between a book and a VR experience. And the book is like a diary from a man that lost his sight. So it's describing you how the world feels like now that he can't see. And in the VR, you put the device on and you are completely in black, but you start hearing his notes, his audio notes, and while he's describing what he hears and feels, you start saying that. And at the end, you spend around like 30 minutes. You just get this whole experience about like, wow, so this is how it feels to be blind. And at the end, that's more like some of the best use I've seen in terms of VR. It's just like to show you, instead of just show you a pretty music video with like a lot of very tricky stuff happening, it's just like show you different points of view. And the other one that was interesting, just a lot of time just trying it out, was one that had a little more interaction without a controller. And it involved, like, it gave you like telekinetic powers while you're exploring this world. So you can basically, you would look at a certain point in the camera and it would react and things would move around you. So you felt more like a supervillain moving stuff with your mind and stuff. That was also very interesting. And it was one of the few experiences where that helped me understand why you get very dizzy and like you get vertigo and stuff, because it's all about the audio, it's all about the sounds, and because they teach since balance in your body is directly related to your ears. The devices do that to you, and that's why you get all trippy and like you see a clip or something, and you actually feel you're losing your balance and all this stuff, even though you just sat on the floor. But it couldn't get much further. It was just at the end of this huge VR wave of the early 2000s. it was vanishing. And then I just presented my nature. It didn't work out, and I started drawing, and here I am. But yeah, VR is interesting, but I think it still has a long way to go before it gets like a default to video games yet. It's getting there, definitely.
Yeah, I like the prospect of the augmented reality. The idea that you could build say like a laser tag arena, with movable walls and so forth. But once you put the VR on, it could become a dungeon or a spaceship, and you could be holding maybe nothing, or maybe you're holding a broomstick, but that's a battle axe in your VR world, and on the wall there's nothing there, but you can interact with a fake lock, or if it's a spaceship, a keypad that's not really there. And really, with the augmented reality, you could just turn around and the game changes, and you're in another part of a spaceship or a dungeon.
Yeah. There's something I actually just kind of looked up an idea. So I can think of 3 kind of recent examples of VR that have actually done pretty well. One is Resident Evil 7, which was out at the time that I won the thing from Taco Bell, so we played that, and that was actually kind of terrifying. Half-Life Alyx came out earlier this year.
Oh, geez.
So we got Half-Life 3 kind of, but it's a VR experience. And this is for you, Scott, that has actually been doing pretty well. But Star Trek Bridge Crew.
Oh.
Yeah, so you have 4 people who all put on a headset, and you're all different members of a bridge crew on a ship from one of like the 4 main generations. And so it gives you like generated missions and stuff. But they're all, what I think is interesting is they're all short experiences.
Yeah.
Well, medically, you can't have more than 5 minutes experiences, because your brain starts telling you like, hey, something's wrong here. Like there's a lot of movement, but you're not moving. And just like when you're ever in a dream or your brain tries to do stuff, telling you, that's why interactions can be that long.
That's why I think
medical thing.
Half-Life and Resident Evil try to find ways around by putting like the dot at the center of your screen, so that way you're programmed your brain to think it's in a video game, not to recognize it as an actual interaction.
Yeah, it can mess you up more than it. Like I spent so many hours with those devices that at some point I was like, I'm having problems. Like I'm awake.
Yeah, Tommy, you mentioned feeling like things are moving. So I have first my not a VR experience, but I was in a Coast Guard training, and they had this huge. This was again 2005, and they had a layout that looked like the bridge or the pilot house of a ship, and they had screens all the way around. And so it was like 200 and some degrees of screens, and they had this proprietary product. And so I was there for a training. It was funny. They let us all bring our coffee in, and they wanted to show us how this training was for like boat operators and tugboat operators. And he was letting me at the helm, and we had a wheel and it had a throttle, and we're cruising along in the virtual Puget Sound. And everybody's got their coffee cups and everything, and the instructor's there, and he's loading in weather, and he's a helicopter, and we'll put an oil tanker over there, and we'll put a cruise ship over there. And he leans over to me, he says, put the helm hard over, go and watch. And I spun the helm, and the whole room, we didn't move, but it felt like we turned like this. Yeah. Everybody grabbed their coffee and grabbed. We didn't move. It was funny to watch. So then, what's that?
No, I was going to say this void thing that we did. I mean, it had, like you were talking about. I mean, it had guns and stuff. You could go grab things off the wall. It was all mapped to what you were seeing.
That's cool.
And you could grab them, and when you shot the guns, it would vibrate in your hands, and as you moved around, and as you took blaster shots from other stormtroopers and stuff, you had rumble pack things on your body, and and it would hit you, and it would knock you back a foot or so as you were bouncing around. Yeah, and then you could, there's buttons. You were talking about the buttons and things on the walls. I mean, you could physically And what was neat about it is because it was like you're saying about your bridge there. I mean, there was physical sets in there, but you know that they were just blank walls. But you
Right.
could go in, you could see your hand.
Yeah.
You could raise your hand, in front of your face, right? And you could see your hand. You could move it was so detailed. You could move your fingers, and you could see the fingers in the display move. But what was so neat is that when you went through a doorway, because I was geeking out and I thought this was cool. If you reached in the doorway, you could feel the wall, right, of the door.
Yeah.
And if you put your hand, you reached around the door like you would if you were like, say you step in your bathroom and you kind of reached around to flip the light on, your hand would disappear, it would clip, like in a game, it would clip around the corner and your arm would disappear as it was going around this virtual thing. It was so neat. It was so neat. It's too bad that they've had to close that down.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, my son was playing a game called Super Hot.
Yeah.
And it's all black and white, and nothing moves until you move. So you kind of have to, your enemies will show up as you reach for a gun or a knife, and then as you retract your arm, they move. But so he got to a level where he's got guns, and he goes to duck or hide behind a barricade that's in the game, but not in real life, and he tumbles onto the floor, which was pretty hilarious to watch. But like Sid was saying, it had tricked his mind so much that he thought, well, that barricade's there, I'll go lean against that and hide, and and he fell on the floor, which was awesome and fun to make fun of him about.
No, in this thing, you could sit on the floor, and like I would watch my wife, and she would kneel down because you were supposed to, like if you were shooting somebody would duck behind something, and she would kneel down to shoot, and she was kneeling down. She was really kneeling down. I could touch her because her visor, actually, she was saying, she was going, Tommy, my visor is messed up.
Yeah.
And so I remember how it hooked to her head. And so I reached over there and I could feel her thing, and I was tightening it up, and I was actually touching her stormtrooper helmet. Yeah, it was cool as could be. I'm so sad now that you brought it up.
Yeah.
I remember kind of I don't know if Scott, you and Roy interacted with this at all, but kind of go back to the early days of this and its use in training for the military. I don't know if you guys ever see like the America's Army system?
Yep.
Where they got like the Top Shot golf wall that's strapped in front of you. It's like, okay.
Yep. Yeah, and the military and defense is the budget there is involved somehow in VR development, and there's VR involved in the drones and headsets and all that. It's pretty crazy, but yeah, I right now I'm looking at the Oculus Quest 2 because the price is incredible, and my kids have mentioned it. But
well, they bought you the other games.
You're right.
You can ask
only fair.
You guys, what the next thing you guys should probably buy. You could try that.
They fell for it.
Christmas.
Yep.
Christmas is coming up.
So, Sid, you're right. It has to make some advances, and it'll get there. But it's a funny thing, like 3D movies too. 3D movies have their ebb and flow. Like,
yeah, that's true.
They come and go. They've been around for a long time, but they just don't seem to catch on. But I think that immersive feeling is the next thing to be drawn into a video game like that. So
it's taking.
What's that?
It's taking far less time.
Yeah. We're coming up on 11 o'clock.
It's taking far less time every time. It took too long.
Oh yeah. It'll get there. It'll get there.
Right.
So, go ahead. I don't know if it's me or you. Is my connection okay?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Sorry, Sid. I'm talking over you.
All good.
we're coming up on 11 o'clock. We should start wrapping up. Any final thoughts, folks, before we say goodnight?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, all of you here, all of you Silverliners, thank you for participating. And again, we were not wanting for topics. And all of you out there, thank you for watching. We really appreciate you. We'd just be talking to ourselves if it weren't for you. Thank you for your support of Silverline Comics and our crowdfunding campaigns. And if you missed those campaigns, shame on you. But no, I take that back. That's okay. You can go to silverlinecomics.com and you can follow the links there to purchase comic books. We have a ever-growing list of titles, and we are constantly every other month we're going to be crowdfunding. I can't say every other month, but it has been our pattern to crowdfund 2 comic books at a time, because we have so many great titles and so many creatives, artists and writers working on these titles to bring you amazing stories, and they are independent comic book stories. So we have great, unique ideas out there, and great storylines and characters that you're going to fall in love with. We appreciate you reading our stories, consuming our creative exploits, and being dazzled by the visuals by folks like Sid and charming Michael Lanning down there. And we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Please, as always, like, share, subscribe, share these videos so we can watch these again. And as always, make mine Silverline. Thanks, guys. And good night.
All right.